luck is manufactured. There's a particular element of preparation that is often like ignored or not paid attention to, putting yourself in an environment where stuff can happen.
So you're telling me you can have two opposite sides of a spectrum, both good options, and you'll be perfectly fine with that?
I don't necessarily question my way, and I'm able to champion any outcome. If it doesn't work out, I'm not now wondering what if. Disappointment is like a reality check. It's then what you do with it that is important. If you're able to break down almost everything that you're trying to accomplish into steps and you hold yourself accountable, it's just really about accountability, there's almost nothing that you wouldn't be able to accomplish, you know?
Today, I'm joined by Azad Abdullah. His path has taken him from business to marketing with global brands and eventually into product design and technology. Today, he works at the intersection of AI and product innovation, helping people and businesses bring ideas to life in practical and powerful ways. This is Project W.I.R.E, and I'm your host, Romeo. Let's get into it. Azad, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
What's something you're grateful for today?
I would say mostly alignment. Things just seem to be coming together pretty nicely for me. Got to be appreciative because, I'm pretty happy in the sense that most of the things that I've been kind of interested in over the years are actually now responsible for making me money. And I guess most of my interests are kind of working out for me, I guess.
What's some of your interests?
Tech. I've always been interested in tech. Even when we were kids, my dad made sure we had Amigas. If you know what that is, that's old school.
No idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were old school computers. So we got very early exposure to computers. And so I was always fascinated, always interested. Sure, initially it was because of games. And I still like games, but just technology in general and what it can do for you, how it can facilitate new things for you as an individual. Yeah.
So you're a tech bro.
Pretty much now, I guess I can claim that. Yeah, I am a tech bro.
And I thought that was interesting because when we met a few months ago, you was telling me about what you do, and I'm like, I felt dumb.
But
But in a good way. I feel like you should be in front of people and in rooms that you feel that way because that means you can learn a lot from people like yourself.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
Tell us more about what you do currently and how evolved that became.
Okay. So right now, I'm the head of product for MacLabs AI. It's an AI marketing automation platform, or at least that's how it started. It's growing to be a lot more than that. And pretty much what we do is we try to ensure that people who are creating products or solutions or doing marketing or marketing research are able to facilitate this with tangible results like using AI. So the key word here is those tangible results. So there's the whole thing of, in the advent of AI, hey, I've potentially been able to just come up with this marketing plan with ChatGPT or whatever have you. But a lot of what we do is centered on, I would say, 40 plus years of research, which the company essentially had carried out tens of thousands of experiments, working for a lot of global brands. And we use a lot of the insight that we've taken from that to be able to inform the decisions and, the outputs that come out from our platform. So that's the real differentiator. And we do this in a more simple manner because I think too many AI platforms have been caught up in the make everything look technologically advanced and complex. Whereas the average person just wants to I want to show up. I want things to understand what my intention is and, give me something that I can work with. So yeah, my job is to just make sure that people have an idea, have imagination, and they can come to our platform and get results.
So if I'm a business or if I'm a solopreneur, how can I utilize those kind of services and software tools?
Well, it depends on what type of business you are, but for different verticals, we have different applications. So I'll give you a few examples. Just based off of lead generation, right? Let's say you're a new business, you want to do some lead generation for your website or whatever have you. And typically in the past, you may have had those, chat with us on WhatsApp buttons and whatever have you. And then as you scale, you just realize it's harder and harder to be able to interface with people one-on-one. And previously, those automations that you normally set up to have conversations with people that visit your website used to be super complex to set up. You'd have to essentially plan for questions in advance. But in the agentic era, which is now when you're able to have conversations, facilitated with AI, we are actually able, we even set up one called the Agent Builder, where you just give it your URL, and within 5 minutes, it's a master of your brand, and people can already have conversational exchanges, and it can capture.
Oh, see me after this.
Contact.
Yeah, see me after this.
For sure. Yeah. So that's just one of the powerful tools that we put in place. But then it's thinking about, what are the challenges people typically have and what are real solutions to that. Like, let's not make it sound too complicated for them, because a lot of times you find that in the AI space, in a bid to make it sound super interesting or whatever, people throw around these big words or make things look overly convoluted, and that's just not really solving any problems for anyone. And so that hyperfixation on problem solving has made it such that right now, and even as what we're currently working on, I guess, we're broadening like what is possible on the platform for every vertical. So I gave one about lead generation, but there's others in terms of like automation. So I don't want to get too nerdy, but a big part of what we've been doing now is a project called ZLC, which is Zero Learning Curve, where even if you visited our platform and you had no idea about AI, you don't know where to start, like you don't know what these different terminologies mean, you can explain something you're trying to do in plain English or whatever language it is that you speak, and the product has an interpretation layer, which will then take what you just said and essentially utilize the platform itself, employing the different tools that we have available to then come up with the outcome that would have been best for what you actually just described that you wanted to do. So a big part of that for me is just making sure that people feel included. I feel like AI should really be more about granting more people access rather than closing people out, which is the general, idea that people are passing around that, oh, AI is taking our jobs. I think AI opens up more avenues for people than they really are being told that it will do for them.
So for somebody who doesn't know much about AI and they only know ChatGPT,
Right.
how can they actually get into using these kind of products more for anything that they do?
I mean, a big part of this is trying to be informed. There's not going to be any automatic, hey, everyone, here's the broadcast. This is what you need to do to be up to date on AI. But interestingly enough, because of how AI works, even if you're using something as simple as ChatGPT, you're actually able to request for automations. And some people don't know this. Like, if you want to be more knowledgeable about AI, you can literally go into ChatGPT and say, every Friday, just give me a summary of all the things that have happened this week in AI that you think that I should be aware of. And as someone who is not like super conversant about AI, make sure it's very simple for me to understand. And sure enough, every Friday, you'll get an email telling you that your automation is ready, and you'll get essentially a briefing that just says, here is what you should know within the AI space. And that's pretty helpful. I use it to keep track of what tech events are happening in my city that week. And so every Friday, I get a report that this coming week, here are all the tech events that are happening, just so that I can also participate. So you can use that for AI. I use it for events, but everyone has their benefits with utilizing AI, I guess.
So talk about the events. A lot of people don't understand the power of events and going to them and understanding what kind of exposure they get from that and how that leads into moving forward.
Right. So I think exposure is like one of the most powerful tools that one can actually award themselves. I don't remember where I first heard it, but I think one powerful saying that I'd heard is that luck is manufactured. So when someone says, oh, I was lucky to be able to do XYZ, there's a particular element of preparation that is often like ignored or not paid attention to. So by virtue of being in these events, sure, you're then exposing yourself to different people in the industry, having conversations that could potentially like enlighten you to potentially like maybe pursue a particular direction. You may also get job offers if that's what you're looking for. Currently, I'm happy with where I'm working. But then it also opens you up to partnerships that you may not otherwise have had access to, right? And the whole essence of luck in this particular play is you're prepared because you're informed about the space, you're educating yourself, you are equipped like occupationally, like you can work in that space, and then you're putting yourself in an environment where stuff can happen. And so because you're prepared, you're in a space where stuff can happen. No better place than tech to be in events for, unless music as well as, I guess I like music, so music concerts too, great.
For sure. So it's, okay, let me go to this event or this social gathering or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And in that space, I get lucky. But I only got lucky because I put myself in that space.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so for example, someone could be like, oh man, I'm really, and I guess this is a more simplistic analogy. Someone could be like, yo, I really like this girl. Like, it would be so amazing, like, if I could date this girl, right? Luck is, all right. And then I bumped into her, like she came into the coffee shop I was having coffee at, right? But if you don't have the confidence to speak, if you don't have the character to back up who she's interested in or whatever have you, then technically you're not lucky. If anything, you're probably even unlucky in that situation, if you get what I mean. And so luck is just making sure that as far as preparation goes, you're already set. And then you're just really putting yourself in different environments that can then bring that about, if you get what I mean.
That's solid.
Yeah.
So what's one of your favorite events that you feel like you've grown the most from, or at least got the most value from?
I would say, well, grown the most from may not be the right terminology. Probably learned a lot from. There are these product tank events that happen here in Dubai. I think like once every month. Sometimes it's every other month, but maybe the frequency is like once every month. And I get to hear, or everyone that attends, by the way, gets to hear like about some insights, like real tangible insights, not the BS, about like what some challenges or interesting takes have been from leaders who are in some of the tech space around here, like in Dubai, right? And I think it was someone who was at Chat Food. Unfortunately, right now I don't remember his name. But Chat Food is like an app that essentially is simplifying like setting up the whole checkout process for if you're a food store. And yes, I know we have like the likes of Kareem and whatever have you, but I just really liked, first of all, how passionate he was about their product. And then the fact that some of the insights he was sharing, I had ordered from a particular shawarma store that used like Chat Food as their way to check out. And I'd seen like, when someone just realizes these are the areas you normally have friction and like, these are how I would refine those areas. And so he was really talking about all the effort that they had put into doing that. And I was like, you know what? Actually, I did feel that because I'd used that checkout process and it felt super duper smooth. I couldn't like pinpoint why this felt different from, what I'd been using before, but it was pretty interesting to now hear how much effort had actually gone into that. And then I had realized that actually I had felt that like, when I used that. And so hearing from people like that also helped shape my own perspective because like I mentioned, part of what we're trying to do with what I'm working on is bridge that ease gap, kind of remove points of friction for people, like getting to hear what other people are doing. I'd rather everyone, figures out a problem before I have to get there. I'm very open to learning from the experiences of others rather than having to fail and then figure it out, if you get what I mean.
For sure. So do you think your passion and your problem solving and you looking at any kind of process and being like, oh, I can do this in this way and it'll be better for it, do you think that drives you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, it's exciting. Like, so sure, this probably fuels my unhealthy work-life balance in the sense that I sometimes take a little too much interest in what I'm doing, like as far as work is concerned. And so like I can see a problem and it can wait for until like tomorrow, for example, right? But then I'm so excited. I'm like, what if like, approach it this way? And I'm eager to see what that outcome is going to be like. And so that constant drive is like pushing me to be like, oh, right, great. Maybe we can figure it out this way. And of course, it's very normal to be wrong. And so a big part of making sure that I can continue to like feel this excitement is by informing myself as much as possible. So got to be making sure you're on top of new articles, checking this out, what new technology is happening right here, like what do I got to know, just to make sure that, I mean, if you're the one essentially spearheading the problem solving, you got to know how to solve problems. Like you got to know what the new dimensions of things that you need to be aware of could be in order to keep staying on top of that. But yeah, for me, it drives me a lot. It makes me happy, which is very important. Yeah, I feel very excited to continue pushing forward in that direction generally.
Can you recall any times where you was going through some kind of challenge and you maybe found a new article or you went to a new event where you learned a new piece of information that was like oh shit?
I mean, almost every week.
Okay.
And one of the lucky aspects of being like working on something that's like, current technology, like every new week, there's something new like within our space that's going to potentially reshape how you're going to approach solving something, right? And in fact, I've gotten to trust it so much that even now I could be working on a part of a product, knowing that the second part of that product that I'm not focusing on is already going to be solved by like the coming 2 weeks because these other people are working on it. And that's going to make it better for all of us to advance the space forward. This week, I had been looking at making sure we could expand the capabilities of like our product. Right now, I think in the beginning, I mentioned that it's becoming a little more than marketing automation in the sense that, when you make this small fix, there's like, oh, this product is going to be good at, helping people, I don't know, like helping people as a painkiller or something. This is just a random example, by the way. And then they find out that, oh, this medicine, oh, wait, great. That's a great example. Was it Mounjaro, which was supposed to be a different medicine than weight loss when people then discovered, oh, it can also be used for weight loss and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? that's kind of how our product has been, where, oh yeah, we're going to make this marketing automation platform. It's going to be really good at this. And then someone else is looking at it like, I hope you realize that this can help me change my entire legal vertical. Like our whole process for law, like if I apply this, that's going to do this. I'm like, oh, interesting. And then someone else is going to be like, oh yeah, for my vertical too, it does this. We're like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't be narrowing our view. Like maybe we got to broaden our view. So what we've been doing over the past, I guess, 3 to 4 weeks, and also going forward into Q2 as well, because Q1 is almost over, is making sure that we are expanding the capability set. So a lot of what happens with textual responses when you're having interactions with agents is nice, but it can be more. And so there's some people who don't necessarily digest information well when it's just primarily text responses. I know some people who would rather listen to audiobooks than read an actual book. And so just thinking about that, especially in this day and age where people want information really quickly, bite-sized information, it was more about arriving at a point where it's like, oh, we definitely have to have this additional visual layer that can turn data that's being returned into more interactive, more visual, and more expansive experiences where people can request for something, and all of a sudden, instead of getting a list of top destinations or whatever, I could already have cards that can automatically help me book a ticket. I could, have a visual tour guide already put together, some map about where I would be going on my trip, etc. All of this just coming through in the response, making it a very different experience than what you're typically expecting to normally have, like when you're having, a conversation like with ChatGPT or something like that.
It's giving Iron Man.
I mean,
It's
it
giving
should.
Jarvis.
It should, because I really think that we're getting to that point. If not, we're already at that point in a sense, because there's no reason why we can't have it. We're already at a part of technology where as long as you have the right idea, you can technically create it now. There's no excuses, and you don't even need to be like some super experienced engineer. Sorry, you do need engineers, especially if you want to make sure that the product is super refined, etc. But the barrier to entry has significantly lowered. You could have an idea for an app today and literally just prompt it in a little bit, and before the end of the day, it's done, and you can have it on the App Store.
Honestly, that's a good example, because I don't want to hear anybody complain today moving forward about any loss of opportunity.
Yeah,
there is
for sure.
There is no shortage of information, no opportunity. So I don't want to hear that.
Exactly.
So tell me something, like, what are some parallels that you see from your personal life and the current position that you're in that helps you progress through both?
I would say it still ties back a little bit to alignment in a sense. So in my personal life, I find that whenever I'm moving in the right direction, things become a lot easier. It's almost like the universe is assisting, and you just feel so much friction once it's not the right direction. It's like if I'm making some bad choices and I just start feeling like some type of way, like, oh, this isn't going so well, I kind of take a beat, I take a step back, a review. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is not the right way. And I'm not afraid to undo stuff that I've done or walk back certain decisions and then make better, in air quote, decisions. For example, my decision to move to Dubai, right? I had gone to a point in my life where I felt like, well, a lot of the things I wanted to achieve, I had kind of already gotten to that point, and it just felt kind of boring. It's just like, oh, so this is going to be it? Oh, nice car, nice apartment, whatever. You have a company. I do have a marketing company in Nigeria as well. You have a marketing company. And so now your life is just how much more money is the marketing company going to make? And I'm like, well, that's not enough, right? And so I did kind of feel stuck. And I tried different things to kind of get me unstuck, in terms of oh, maybe I should explore this and explore that. And it wasn't necessarily yielding anything. In fact, I started content creation. Not that I can't still create content now, but it just didn't feel like this is the direction that's going to propel you in the way forward, if you get what I mean.
Was it fulfillment you were looking for?
Fulfillment, I like to think of is a dicey word to use, because it's not like I need to feel some self-righteousness or oh, I've done this or I've accomplished this. No, it's really just purpose, right? Okay. It's I want to make sure that there is impact out of what I've done with my life. And it's not for anyone else in terms of oh, I need to show people that I was capable of this. It's just we're all here for a reason. And most people that are in my life now are making my life better and making other people's lives better. And I'm so how am I playing my own part, right? And so I had thought about different things. And then COVID was an interesting time because everything just went quiet for a while, right? And so normally you get caught up in the hustle and bustle. I was working a lot. and that was in marketing. Marketing is just as like time consuming as like consulting, right? And so I was working a lot, and finally things were quiet, and it's just like, well, for the first time in my life, which is a weird time, like for how old I was, I think it was like maybe 20 something, 25 or 26 or whatever. Like I had enough time to slow down and be like, well, what do I actually want? Right? Because it became clear to me that I was seeing myself from the lens of what I am to everyone else, like around me. And so for the first time, it's like, well, can't do anything for everyone else because right now everyone's at home. Nobody needs anything. So what are you going to do for yourself? And like, what do you want? And it was only at that time when I then just realized, okay, well, the only things I'm not happy with at the moment, I chose, right? It's not like as if they're being enforced on me. I chose, and I chose to move back to Nigeria. I chose to stay. I'm really happy I moved back, but
Move back from where? Just
oh, right,
for
right, right.
reference,
So
just
I mean,
context.
I went to uni in the States, like in the US. I went to Penn State, and I could have stayed. Like you can do OPT, then continue working on states and whatever have you, and just kind of like the way I say, like life has a way of channeling you in the right direction. Even though I always tell people, and I told them, I'm like, hey, when I was renewing my last visa, I'm like, could you cut this short after my graduation date? Even the lady at the embassy was like, but you can stay.
She's like, you sure you want to
Yeah,
go?
like, it was wild. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure, I want to move back and whatever have you. Towards the end, I guess even just shortly after graduation, when you would normally start having like doubts, like, oh, should I have stayed and whatever have you, I just still wasn't feeling like, I don't know what it is. Like, when you just don't have the vibe that this is where you belong. Not that there's anything wrong per se. I mean, now maybe not. But like then I just didn't feel like there was something inherently wrong. It just didn't feel like that's where I needed to be.
Like there was something missing, maybe.
Exactly. Right. And so I did briefly even still try to do the OPT towards the end. But then as luck would have it, it arrived too late. Like the form arrived like a day too late to where it needed to be delivered to. So it's like life still said, you know what? No, you're sticking to what you said you were
But
going to do.
in that moment, how did that make you feel?
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily say not disappointed, but it felt like, yeah, it shouldn't have worked. Like, it's cool. Like, that's good. Like, because then that would have thrown like doubts into my conviction of I'm moving in the right direction. I'm doing the right thing. Like, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So if I never really find that two very different directions are open for me, and both of them can otherwise be working perfectly. It's like one of them is clearly going better than the other, if you get what I mean. And maybe that's just my fortune, but that's just kind of how I've seen like life going for me, and it's kind of how I also give advice about life. Just like if you feel like there's a lot of friction in the direction that you're headed in, then maybe you need to take a step back and reevaluate. Like, is this the right direction? Kind of vibe.
That's interesting. So you're telling me you can have two opposite sides of a spectrum, both good options, and you'll be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because I feel like a lot of people would, I don't know, they would feel some kind of way about themselves or feel like they can't make a decision or feel like they're lost because maybe one direction is all that they thought they can go down and it's not working.
I mean, yes, but then at the same time, I guess I had the huge benefit of the type of like parents that I had. I think they allowed us to build a lot of conviction in our decision making, and so I don't necessarily question my way, and I'm able to champion any outcome that comes of it. If it doesn't work out, and as a result, like we took a big L, I'm like, well, I'm not now wondering what if. That peace of mind of just we explored it, it didn't work. I'm good now, right? Just keeps me more happy than the, oh man, what if we had just, tried it out? Like, who knows? Like by this time we could be this or we could be that. But just that whole, right? These are the options. Make one decisive choice, and then we stick with it. Like when I was moving to Dubai, it was literally I made a PowerPoint of different countries I'd like to
PowerPoint is
move to.
crazy.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
these are all the different countries I'd like to move to. On each slide, I was like, what's it called? Barriers to entry, like reasons to move here, like what's cost of living, etc. And I kept narrowing it down over the weeks. I started getting really particular about things, random things that I care about. Like I was like, must have beaches because I like water. And so it came down to Dubai. I had a friend who had moved here 2 years prior, asked him a whole bunch of questions. And I literally just gave myself a deadline. I'm like, I'm not renewing my rent. In Nigeria, you pay your rent annually. And so I'm like, by the time June comes around, I'm not going to renew my rent. And so it doesn't matter what happens. You're moving. And so I literally started selling off everything. I did everything and got to that point where there's no way to turn back from this decision, bro. Like you got to go through. And before I left, obviously I had spoken to my parents, and my dad was like, just wanted to get a rough idea. Like, if this doesn't work out, like, what are your plans? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm perfectly fine, like, if it doesn't work out. And I don't mind having to walk it back if I have to move back to Nigeria or do what else ever, like, I'll be fine. And he's just like, oh, then you're already in the right place. Like, I just wanted to make sure, like, this wasn't gonna, like, if it didn't go your way, like, ruin your life kind of vibe. I'm like, no, we got it. And I moved here, and it didn't even take up to a week before things already started moving really positively for me. So I didn't knew that this is definitely the right step. Like, so yeah.
So what would you say to the people who would get distraught otherwise? Like, you have people in the same situation, whereas if it didn't work out, they feel like their whole life is over and that they wasted time. Do you believe in wasted time?
I think wasted time kind of connotes that there's a right time for everything. And it also is a little presumptuous in that you have so much authority or control over the outcome of everything. And a big part of life is realizing that you don't. You can control the things that you can, and then just be aware of the things that you cannot. You can have everything right today for a particular thing to work out, and the global dynamic that affects that very scenario changes. That's out of your control. And yes, you can be upset. So no one is saying, oh, be robotic about it. Like, don't be upset when things happen. You're upset, but you're very, very grounded in the realities of what you are able to influence in that particular scenario. And if you, like me, have essentially arrived at the point where in your life it's just very important for you to explore things and then understand that your real goal is to not have regrets, then failure is a very big part of that. A lot of people who are successful today have failed at different things at any point in time. And it doesn't mean that they weren't sad about it. But then it's just you take the learnings that you can from that and then move on. Like, I know it sounds super motivational, speaky or whatever, but failure is a very big part of, like, getting to know what method works best for you. Like, I didn't start off like super intelligent all the time. I mean, this is not to speak poorly of myself, but for example, even in high school, there was a time when I wasn't doing so hot. Like, in fact, from my first 3 years of high school, like, I feel like I was doing pretty poorly, to be honest.
Struggling.
Yeah, I was really struggling. I tried different things, and it's very hard to explain, especially like to parents. Like, look, I'm really trying, like, especially if you're still failing. And one day, I remember it was a further maths class. Like, I just stayed behind in class because I was staring at, like, everything, all the equations, everything we had been taught that day was still on the board. And I'm like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know I can figure this stuff out. And I took like an additional hour. I was just staring at it. I was trying to figure out every single thing that they had said. And boy, I can't begin to explain like the feeling I felt when I fully just grasped it. I'm like, oh, it's this, da, 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 da. And then I realized, okay, so sometimes for certain types of things, I take longer to process them and arrive at the thing. But once I understand it, like, I'm going to be super good at it. And just that realization alone changed my perspective and like how I received like feedback, how I approach like solving problems. And I can say like it was instrumental in like how I even like envision like, the way I do stuff now. Like, I just realized, okay, if I don't understand it right away, like, let's take some time, like sit on it, let's process it and whatever have you. If I was busy wallowing like, oh, I'm so dumb, I'm so sad, like, I'm trying my best, it's so hard, I would just not have gotten like anywhere with that, like, And so I think disappointment is like a reality check, and it's then what you do with it that is important.
That part. So what pattern before kept repeating that was not conducive to growth for you?
Well, I guess there were a few, but the main one for me is that I don't think I was exercising as much discipline as I should have. When I was talking about what happened in COVID, right? I realized like I gave a lot of importance to how well I did for everyone else, but not as much importance as how well I did for myself. And so I started holding myself accountable, when it's like, I know you can do this. So don't give me no crappy excuses as to why we don't have this or why we can't get that. And I'm going to hold you to this timeline. I know it sounds like I'm talking about self in the third person, but it's kind of how that interaction happens like in my head, where it's like, this is not an unrealistic ask, bro. Like, we can have this, we can accomplish this. And I just keep reminding myself, like, we're going to do this. And I guess one of the most important parts about like setting goals is then to make sure these are the literal steps that we will do to make that happen. So I don't want to hear about how, it was this wishful thinking that we would accomplish this. You can keep checking whether or not we're actually making progress towards this goal. So if on this day you haven't done XYZ step, then you just know that you're fooling around, And so if you're able to break down almost everything that you're trying to accomplish into steps and you hold yourself accountable, it's just really about accountability. There's almost nothing that you wouldn't be able to accomplish,
I think having that internal monologue is crucial to anything that you
Yeah.
do. Because overthinking is that it's internal monologue, but
Right.
that's a bad thing, or it could be a bad thing. However, if you're having that internal monologue with yourself and it's the checking myself and keeping myself accountable, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole process, right? So moving from that, when did you start to shift in a big way, and how did having that accountability actually translate into real life?
I would say there were different milestones.
Okay.
First of all, there was that, like the high school one, because I then started doing really well after that, because it was just like, oh. And on top of that, by the way, part of what incentivized that whole I'm not dumb and I need to was just, I don't remember what the dream was, but when I woke up, I just realized up until that point, like going to school, I felt I was doing this like for my parents. Like school felt like punishment, to be honest.
Honestly.
Yeah. And so I just realized, oh wait, I'm doing this for me. Right? Like so
Yeah.
the whole like I'm the one who benefits from this. In fact, they're losing from
I
this.
never knew.
Yeah, I never knew. Like,
Yeah.
you know, my dad could have bought like an E-class with these school fees.
Yeah.
But he's doing this for me so that I can do better for myself. So like it then just became, oh, so now I'm self-driven on this particular thing as opposed to like, you know, externally being influenced. And I think that just comes down to understanding more and more about yourself. Like as you go, it's very unlikely that I'll be externally influenced in terms of like pushing me forward. It mostly has to be internal. Like, so if I don't arrive at that conclusion and start pushing myself that way, there's no amount of motivational speeches, no books, no videos, no, you know, pep talk that's gonna push me in that direction. I need to arrive at that conclusion and then start pushing it. And then, so for me, that pattern then started repeating itself. I was very fortunate when I moved back to Nigeria. I met my now business partner, Steez. And you know, when you meet someone who is emulating like a type of life that you would benefit from, like she just didn't, not that she didn't care, it's like she didn't put too much importance on the negative, if you get what I mean. It's like, oh, we tried this, it didn't work, all right, cool. And like, you know, seeing someone handle it so masterfully is how I even put it. Like, it just, yeah, it is whatever. It really helped me. I honestly, I can't put a value on just how beneficial that relationship that we even had been to my life at that point in time, because you know, you come into things probably feeling like, oh yeah, I think I know quite a fair bit. Like no, I did not know.
Humbled.
Yeah, really humbled me, and I learned a lot from her, and I probably still do actually right now.
The way I visualize that, because I'm a visual person, is you remember that movie Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
And how the sink is
The
ship is sinking, and he walks right off it right before it goes down. If you can approach life like that in every single way, life is anything you make it to be.
Yeah.
Because even for me, I'm like going back to what you were saying before, my aunt, I knew she wanted to beat my ass every day for not wanting to read a book. I'm like, I don't want to read this. And when I would read, it would be like right up until the 20-minute mark. I'm like, okay, I'm done. But then as I got older and I'm like, I want to live a different lifestyle. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this. I started realizing, well, the more I learned and applied it, the closer I got to where I wanted to go. So I'm like, oh,
It's like, oh, this
is
results?
lit. I
Yo,
should
this
have been
is
doing this
great.
all along. But it's that point of like, I need to understand that for myself.
Right.
And I think a lot of other people need to understand things for themselves. And I think the moment everybody stops telling people what to do and how to do and everything, that gives other people the room to breathe and explore within themselves. Because now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I don't like to feel controlled or influenced in any way. So if I feel even a hint of that, I will just not do it just to spite you at this point.
Right.
But
It's like you're washing the dishes and someone is like, oh, make sure you wash those dishes.
Actually, I'm not watching this anymore.
Yeah.
But it's also having the discernment to not be so petty as to not do it at all. And also what would be good for you to do and still try, and what's in between. Because some things you can avoid the influence if you know what that looks like. And the other things you're like, okay, but I know I should do this because this would be conducive to my own growth.
Right.
So what's the biggest pattern you see within your own life now that you're really grateful for because it keeps just keeping you on the ball?
Once again, alignment. So it's just putting myself in a position to use all these different tools that we've spoken about, whether or not it's, you know, your discipline, whether or not it's your knowledge, you positioning yourself in the right place. It's aligning all those things together and advancing. I think most people will benefit from just realizing all the different pieces that are required to line up, you know, when we say, oh, the stars have aligned, you know, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, just arriving at understanding the different pieces that will help you advance and then doing something about it is just the biggest step. That doing something about it is actually bigger than most people would assume. Like sometimes it takes a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was speaking to someone earlier this week and I didn't want to actually turn it into a whole conversation then, but I most likely will bring it up later when They're like, oh yeah, you're doing so much. Wow, it could never be me. And I'm like, yeah, it's definitely gonna be you. At least if you're gonna move forward in life, it's definitely gonna be you at some point in time, and you will hopefully find something that you're so interested in that you wouldn't necessarily think of it as a burden. It would just be these are the required steps before I can accomplish X, Y, Z.
It's the way I look at it is every time I get a big challenge or there's something that I have to face or problem solve, I actually get so happy now, which is a complete 180 of how I used to be. Why? Because I realized that that challenge or that thing is the exact thing that I need
To be able to move forward.
to be able to move forward. And that is how aligning the stars looks like. I align my own stars every day.
Right. I don't know if you've heard about this YouTube channel, Yes Theory. Okay, cool. One of the, I guess the motto is seek discomfort. And it's usually around the point where you've essentially put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Obviously not like, a terrible situation. I mean like uncomfortable, like meaning that you're advancing in a direction that you're no longer comfortable in. So you're breaking, exactly, it's challenging. It's breaking what you're normally used to just sitting and resting with. I think that analogy or that thought process, it really helps because it means that you're advancing. Most times when you're facing newer challenges that you're not just easily tackling, it means that you're essentially probably at the borderline of some new advancement.
I was actually talking to a gentleman yesterday about the same exact thing. And I told him, I don't feel comfortable unless I'm uncomfortable. And I feel like it's so many small little things that you can just move the bar with. So like if you need to get to the next step, by putting yourself right above the level you're currently at, so you could just slightly rise to that level, is how you can sustain it, but continuously grow. Not an unrealistic expectation or an unrealistic goal.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to put the bar way up here.
Exactly. You got to be realistic.
Yeah.
And I was saying it also earlier, like, like I know my, in air quote, limits. And so when I say, oh, I'm setting what I know to be a realistic goal, it's like, it's not a stretch goal in the sense like, sometimes some people will set some very unrealistic or unachievable
I want
goals.
to get $1 billion by the end of the month.
I mean, if I thought I knew the ways and I had the steps, that would then be realistic, but I don't. If I knew, that would be a different conversation to today, But I could be like, all right, well, I want to travel 5 times this year. And despite the fact that, you have to spend money on all these things, like, whatever, it's like, that seems very realistic. Like if you have the discipline, like you can definitely do that. And so I did that last year, for example, when I was just like, all right, no matter what happens, every year I want to travel to 5 new places. Because you're also, not only do I just enjoy traveling in general and anywhere that has new beaches, but then you're also increasing like your exposure, right? You experience new things and then your perspective shifts. A good example is like I went to Kenya and I saw the real estate market there and whatever have you. And if anyone had prior to that trip, like told me about like, oh, why don't you invest in property in Africa or whatever have you? I'm like, yeah, no, especially because a lot of my experience around that was shaped by like, Nigerian property market and no. So I was like, yeah, actually, you know what? Now I'm kind of opening up to that. And there's a very high possibility that before the end of this year, like I could be investing in that. And that would then mean that, oh, I could be earning, for example, like passive income from like now owning property like in a country, which is new levels of growth that I otherwise just didn't have previously.
So the way I kind of approach this mentally is I look at it as anything that's so complex or complicated or requires a lengthy process, I just simplify it.
Exactly.
I just simplify. Everybody gets caught up in all these little things and concepts and just simplify it.
Yeah. Because if you're describing like the complex problem without thinking through the steps, it's going to still seem overwhelming. Like, when you break it down into steps and you're like, well, okay, if I can do this step to this step, yeah, that seems achievable. And then you do this step to this step, all right, well, that seems achievable. So if there's one skill you can polish that would definitely make your ability to see life differently better, it would be the ability to break things down into steps. Like, so you look at a problem and you just break it down.
And then I don't know about you, but I talk shit to myself internally.
Like, yeah.
Every day, like, well, let me start with this. I also like to develop good habits intentionally. So like one of the habits I have is every single morning when I wake up, identify at least 3 things that I have to accomplish that day. Like no matter what, I will accomplish these 3 things, no matter how small they are. And when I'm looking at them, say I'm like, there's one, I'm like, this could kind of wait. I'll talk to someone, I'm like, really, can you not just do it right now? And I'm like, you're right. Yeah, so it's those small stuff.
No, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And it still comes down to discipline if you think about it. It's like, are we gonna, like, we've been doing it 4 days in a row and now you're really gonna let this slip? So yeah, I think that's very helpful. And on my own end, I mean, I don't necessarily give myself 3 things in a day, but I make up these, like if you think of it like a video game, like I make up these side quests and it's just like all of a sudden there's no actual lost. Like I don't really lose
Yeah.
anything, but I lose to myself, which
Yeah.
is like not tolerable, right? So
Yeah.
it's just like we said we're doing this,
Yeah.
so we're doing this. So you know,
I like to look at life as a game. It's just a series of missions and side quests, but it all compounds into you and yourself and all the skills you develop, all of the experiences you have, and everywhere that you're going moving forward.
yeah. And you know, those little accomplishments from those side quests actually make you feel so much better about yourself. Like so, you really feel the need to then challenge like what you can do as a side quest going forward. Like, and it starts off from something simple. Like, you know, you would hear all the every day you wake up, you know, start off and make your bed and whatever have you. And I'm like, okay, I've made my bed like 10 days in a row. I don't really feel like this has changed anything. But you know what? I'm gonna add on like, and then we wake up and then we also do like 25 push-ups or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, that's now gotten routine. All right, well, why don't we add on X, Y, Z, right? And so now, I think last year I added on Duolingo, and today we'll make it the full year. This is going to be my 365th day doing Duolingo as well, because I'm like, why don't I learn a new language and whatever have you? And all these little things like create avenues for little wins, which also just make you more, I would say, more attuned to be able to like, you know, take on more challenges and be like, oh yeah, I can also win at this, I can win at that. And obviously it would benefit you occupationally and in your personal life as well, I guess.
Of course, and some of these side quests that you mentioned, like they're so valuable to everything that you do, like to the point where people don't realize it.
Yeah.
Like you can want to transition from a different career or to a different career field one day, but only because of one of these side quests that you've done, right? Like maybe you learned how to code Python on the side. Maybe you learned how to play something on the side. And
I'm in tech now because of a side quest. So
talk about that.
So for example, I was working as assistant head of marketing for an outsourcing company in Nigeria, and we had like a tech division, and I think at the time like we had a positioning gap because I think the UI UX person had left or something, and I've been working on this marketing campaign, and I'm like, look, this marketing campaign got to go out, you know, and what had happened was because we had no one to do the UI UX, I was just like, you know what? When I was in uni, I used to design some interfaces on the side. I'm gonna do it, right? So I go up to the guy that was leading that team, and I'm like, you know, let me do the design or whatever have you. And it's like, okay, well, let me show you the stuff or whatever have you. Worked on that, went by, thought nothing of it, right? When I'd moved to Dubai, I'd say like a week after I'd moved to Dubai, randomly, hadn't spoken to this person for years, reaches out to me. He's like, oh man, hey, how's it going? You know, I now hire developers for American companies, and they have asked me to find a UI UX person, and I don't necessarily have one. And, you know, I know we've worked together in the past, like, you know, and so at the very least, I know you're focusing on marketing, but as a favor to me, could you take this interview? And if they don't like you, then I can be like, well, I provided someone, you guys just didn't like them. Get on the interview. By the way, I could easily have said no, but I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, you know, what else? You know, whatever have you. And so I'm just, take the interview. I loved what the guys were saying. It sounded very interesting. They were very interested in some of like the side projects that I'd done as well. So it was really awesome. And just from that, like, I got the job offer.
So when you first came to Dubai, what did you intend on doing?
So I had spoken to my friend who had moved to Dubai prior, and he's just like, look, man, I had a lot of confidence in my capability to be valuable to any company, right? So I'm like, I'm going to come through, do some marketing consulting. It's going to be great, right? And I still eventually did that, or I'm still doing that right now. But it just so happened that I was like, even if I do nothing for 8 months, this is the nest egg that I brought along with selling off all my stuff and whatever have you. And even if we did nothing, which is not going to be possible, I was already going to events and stuff like networking opportunities from like the first week, right? But even if I'd done nothing, like I didn't come with, this is the fixed job that I'm going to go into. This is the plan, blah, blah. It was just, we go, if we like it, because I'd never been here before, which is also interesting. It's like, if we like it, like if we like the vibe, if it feels like somewhere we would want to be, then great. And I'd been here for a week and I already knew like, it felt like at home. Is oftentimes not like spoken too much about, but there were certain places where you travel and just even from having like an Arabic sounding name, there's just extra scrutiny, or being black and then extra scrutiny. And it just felt like a very welcoming place, a very accommodating place. And so I was like, well, this is going well, but I'm still not going to be too disappointed if like I try for an opportunity here and it doesn't work out. But funny thing about Dubai is opportunities everywhere. And so it didn't take very long before it's like, there's this opportunity that's come up if you're looking to be, employed and whatever have you. And boom. That's just how things started progressing from there.
There seems to be a common theme with you, like, which is that you're very open-minded.
Yeah.
Do you see how, like, do you evaluate yourself and see that open-mindedness, and then you see other people that are not, and Does that feel frustrating for you if you like if there's somebody you care about or a friend?
So I feel like it works for me. And I don't necessarily know that it would always work for someone else, right? Some people deal better with certain types of structure or limitations, and that's what works for them. I don't want to assume that just because this works really well for me, that it's going to work well for everyone, right? But for me, I'm very well aware of the fact that I try to be as open-minded as possible, and I try to also check myself when I realize that I'm making kind of like a close-minded decision on certain things or have a very close-minded opinion of certain things.
Give an example.
Okay, for example, even the tech events, right? Before I started going to the tech events, I'm like, I don't really benefit from the tech events because I had the job I already wanted. I'm like, so, like, am I just gonna go have this whole pretentious,
Okay,
like,
Einstein.
hangout? Like, no, so
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
even
yeah.
because, for example, at that point in time, I didn't necessarily think that it was gonna be like a learning opportunity. Like, I thought it was gonna be because if you've been to some tech events, like, it's just this whole come and listen to how great we are, and then
Literally.
let's just pretend and do the ha-has, shake hands, and you've not really left with anything. It's we've done this for the sake of appearances, but I don't really feel like I've benefited. And if you're very particular about your time, it just starts feeling like, well, within this amount of time, we could have accomplished X, Y, Z. But then, you have to then start thinking, well, if you want to be that analytical, there's so many things that you do that are a very useless waste of your time. Like you watch this movie and then like, has this movie changed your life? No, but it was for entertainment purposes. Like, everything has its place in a sense. And so from that whole perspective shift of just, well, you don't actually change as an individual if you don't expose yourself to new things. Like all your ideas stay the same if your context stays the same. And so, as someone who's in a position to be a creative and also innovating in a product space, the very premise of your ability to improve is exposure. And so, for me, it was then just okay. Well, I guess I gotta be open to a lot more, say yes to a lot more things. Yeah, it's worked for me. There's certain things that I'm probably only confident in now just because I said yes to a bunch of stuff.
So tell me how time relates to that, because you briefly mentioned time, and to me, time is a very valuable asset.
Yeah, so time is valuable. I think I've been less particular. I mean, on a micro level, obviously, I'm very particular about time. Like, oh, show up on time, get this. But then, on a macro level, like assuming that, oh, I need to accomplish this within the next 2 years, or I need to do this. I feel like I have learned that I can have aspirations, but I don't hold myself to certain timelines if things outside my control shift those deadlines, because there's an inherent like assumption that you would have full control over the spectrum of what's going to happen within a very long period of time. But the longer that time gets, the less you have a say. You can have goals that you want to accomplish, which is probably the better way to think about it. But and you may want to say within a respectable, meaningful time. But for me, on a more macro scale, I'm just like, look, I know I'm doing everything that I can, and I'm taking all the right steps, and it would be accomplished within the time that's then appropriate for it. Is essentially that.
And that's a very logical approach. But a lot of people, they all say that.
No, so you can only have this perspective if you know you have the discipline that you're already doing every single thing possible with the time you have.
And that's what's missing. That's the
Right.
gap. So many people are like, yeah, I know I can't control everything, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if you know that, then why are you getting so angry and upset over
Yeah.
missing those small things? If you really knew that, you would practice that.
Right.
All right. So for anybody watching this, what do you think would be the most valuable takeaway that you can give them?
I'd break it in two parts. One would just be, as weird as it sounds, understand more about yourself, because that would inform what methods will work for you. Understand more about your wants, like what motivates you, like your interests, and try to make it less basic, because sometimes someone will be like, oh yeah, my interests are money. Yeah, but then you want the money to facilitate things. So if you then think about, well, if you think right now that your interest is money, if you had unlimited money, what would you use that money to do? And that's outside of the acquiring nice stuff. Like, what else are you going to do with that money, right? That can sometimes give you a hint. And that understanding of self can then allow you to put a plan in place to be able to accomplish that. Because oftentimes you hear people say, oh, what is your goal for blah, blah, blah? And then they're like, well, what's preventing you from doing that? That kind of applies here. Where it's like, well, so what is your goal? Like, what do you understand about yourself? And what unique insights do you know about yourself that could be liabilities or also serve as opportunities? and then use that to be what breaks down these goals into steps. Because what works for me may not work for you. Like my whole, I hear about these people who are like, oh, I wake up every day at 6 a.m. I go to the gym, and that is not going to work for me. And for some people, when they hear that, oh, I slept at 6 a.m., they're like, never, ever. And I'm like, yeah, that's just what works for me, right? That whole level of understanding yourself will allow you to reach the next step of understanding what then works for you. And then if you then have goals, you can then break down those steps based on your understanding of yourself. Because if anyone else breaks those steps down for you, it's probably just not going to be as effective.
I resonate with that very deeply because I got to a point myself where I'm like, okay, I'm struggling to wake up at the same time so early every single morning. I know I'm not this. It takes me up until X time to like fully get up for the day. So let me shift around my day. I know I have to do the creative stuff later in the day because my brain isn't fully running. And then early I do the functional things. But it's that exploration of self so that leads you there. And you can find a schedule that works for you. So all these like motivational
it must be
speakers,
4 a.m.
I get up and I met. Cool, good for you.
Great.
Doesn't work for us. But all right, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's been a good conversation. Yeah. If you found value from this, like, comment, and subscribe. And before we go, where can they find you?
It depends on what you're looking at me for. If it's for my traveling content, because I do like to travel, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is as advertised. It's a pun. I was in advertising. And then you can just find me on LinkedIn, Azad Abdullah. I think it's also as advertised on LinkedIn as well. I think that's actually my socials everywhere.
There you go. Ladies, I already know.
Huh?
Yeah, you know what it is.
Right.